back to the circuit here for our next race, which is the Sports 2000 Championship. The grid is already appearing on the screen. It's Michael Gibbons on pole position for this one alongside Richard Johnson. Timothy Tudor in the 40 is next alongside Joshua Law in the 91. Row 3, Paul Traherne in the 71 alongside James Barwell in the 77. Row 4, Tom Stotton in the number 1 car alongside Dominic Linivsky in the number 3. Row 5 is Nick Bates in the number 4 and David Houghton in at the 8. Row 6, the man we see all over the place in this car, the 148, Andy Chittenden, goes wherever the car will be allowed. He is on row 6 alongside Steve O. Row 7, Peter Williams in the 88 alongside John Eiley in the 44. Row 8 is Peter Brower alongside Roger Donnan in cars 6 and 34 respectively. Row 9, the 111 of Grant Gibson and the number 9 of Andrew Butler. Row 10, Ashley Law in the 73 alongside Joshua Needham in the 25. Mike Turner is in the number 7 and row 11 alongside David Gorst in the 103. Final row of the grid, John Owen in the 28 and Colin Peach in the 117. Now that's the grid. I'm very happy to say that with Sports 2000s always comes an additional commentator in the form of Chaz Draycott, who has joined me here in the box. Chaz, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Adam. It's a wonderful sunny day. It may be freezing still at Donington Park, but it's fantastic to be here. And what a brilliant start to the campaign this is going to be for the Sports 2000 SRCC Championship, I should say. Sponsored this year by Locks for Vans. We were changing sponsors over the winter, and the guys at Locks for Vans have put a fantastic amount of money into the series and really given it new life. So much so that we've got 24 Duratecs this weekend and 21 Pintos. It's been absolutely amazing to see the great turnout by all of these cars, so much so that we have split the grids for this race meeting, and of course will do for the next race meeting in 3 weeks' time at Silverstone. It's going to be really, really good to see just how much that changes the racing here, because as you've seen before a lot, I imagine, with multi-class racing, you know, the slower classes don't always enjoy it, the faster classes sometimes don't enjoy it, because you're having to work your race around slower cars, and as the slower cars, you have to spend your race getting out of the way.
Yes, there is still something of a multi-class element here, of course. There are 3 registered classes for Duratec A, B and DB. In brief, if at all possible, before the end of this formation, Matt?
Yeah, the Duratec B cars are just basically some of the older Duratecs. Basically just how long ago they were constructed as cars. There is a car there. Paul Traherne is actually going slowly, which is not good news, because Paul had next to no luck last year in that number 71, was due to start 5th. And it looked to me like he had his hand in the air, then slowing out the old hairpin. That would be a terrible, terrible start for him. Derek Bell is for, that's the DB class, that is. Derek Bell is for drivers over the age of 60, basically. Okay. There are a number of them out there, you know, some of the old boys in the paddock. It's fantastic to see them, and yes, it is Paul Traherne with his arm in the air, which is a real shame. We see there the 88 of Peter Williams just ready to go past him. But that is gutting stuff for Paul. He was just talking to me earlier in the paddock about how he had no luck last year and he was happy with his qualifying, and now unfortunately that seems undone. But one of the best things about this is that these cars, they get sort of kept in the paddock, so people sell their cars onto others and then get new MCRs. Roger Donnan, for example, in the 34, the car starting directly behind him on the grid, the number 9 of Andrew Butler, that's Roger's old car, and it was chasing him through most of qualifying. It was quite funny to watch, actually.
Yeah, it's always entertaining when you end up against your own vehicle. I've seen one person crash into their own old car once before, but I won't tell who that was, because I just know I wouldn't be appreciated. It's Michael Gibbons and Richard Johnson on the front row of the grid, then the 76 on the inside, the 21 on the outside. Keep an eye on Timothy Tudor as well in the number 40. Not that we could miss that car with its very bright colours. Did I see Peter Williams withdrawing from the circuit there as well? I think I saw the 88 car coming off, so a couple of cars dropping on the formation lap. You see there the 71 of Paul Traherne, meant to be on the 3rd row of the grid, just sneaking into the pit lane there in the back of shot as well. So we're a couple down, however it's still a very strong grid of the Sports 2000 Duratecs, as we've alluded to. Great to see that the class is now at a point where the strength is such We have two completely separate grids. It's going to be Gibbons and Johnson off the line in just a few seconds. We expect the green flag and the red light. Here is the red light. Let's see who gets the best run. It looks like it's a good start for the pole sitter Gibbons. Johnson not as such. Timothy Tudor trying to get to the inside, does get to the inside. Tudor will have second place, and a big dive.
Yeah, that was Josh Law, sorry there, Adam, just chucking it down the inside. Now, interesting to note as well, when you look at the front of the two cars that we've mentioned there, Tim Tudor and Josh Law, starting on the second row of the grid, they are the brand new MCR S2N. They've got a different front end on them, and they've been really, really feisty. Oh no, that's David Gorst, who hasn't got away. He's on the start-finish straight still, but side by side their safety car is out for that. Dominic Lesniewski got his typical lightning bolt start. All last season I was bigging up how quick Dominic was. Every time I mentioned it, he got a terrible start, but every time I didn't talk about him, it was a belter. We look there at Josh Law, and you can see they've got a much more aggressive front aero package on this new MCR S2N. It's a fantastic looking bit of kit anyway, but Gibbons got a tidy start, stayed ahead of Tim Tudor, who also then stayed ahead of the number 21 of Rick Johnson. He was incredibly quick in qualifying as well. He was really happy with his efforts, but yeah, safety car straight off the bat. Not the best start to the season, admittedly, but at the end of the day, safety is the main priority, as we both very well know, Adam. I'm sure we've spent many a time staring at cars behind a safety car.
Oh, absolutely, yes. It's a necessary evil, certainly.
Yeah.
We're talking about Andy Chittenden. I mean, Andy... I think I probably commentated on him about 7 times last year.
In different series, I imagine.
At no point was it Sports 2000s. He shows up everywhere in that car, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does get a lot of running in that car, does Andy. He was spending a lot of time last year, especially getting used to the MCR S2. He used to race in the Pintos, which we'll be seeing tomorrow. They had a fantastic qualifying session earlier, but yeah, Andy went straight from one of the Pintos into this MCR S2. It was a brand new car when he bought it as well, and he's just been making sure he gets as much running as possible out of that thing. And that's important with cars like this because, you know, they're so light, there's so much downforce. They're unlike any other road car that you could ever get used to. They are a real different kettle of fish to a lot of other race cars you see. Very bright and colourful grid as well, but still, it's fantastic to watch these things go around. They're almost as quick as GT3 cars around Snetterton, and considering that they're only 2-litre engines, 200-ish horsepower, it's fantastic. Really shows you how good the downforce is, I guess.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Snetterton is not a circuit that on paper would be, you know, to their strength. Yes, of course, you've got that middle sector, that new edition. I say new edition, it's been like that for 11 years.
Feels new.
Yes, still feels very new. It's more twisty and technical than it used to be, yes, but, you know, there's so many long straights there, and the fact that they are so close to GT3s, even at Snetterton, says a lot for the potential of these Sports 2000 cars. You even see it among other prototypes, and again, Andy Chittenden being the guinea pig here, showing up against, you know, all sorts of things, be they radicals, be they CN prototypes, LMP3 cars. He was up against them all at various points last year in various prototype championships, and often really did hold his own in the little MCR.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very potent car. As we can see now, the safety car lights have gone off. Oh, that was a bit of a wobble on the way into the chicane there for the BMW. I believe it's a 235. Anyway, Gibbons doesn't have such a wobble. He knows exactly what he's doing. Michael Gibbons, multiple champion in the Sports 2000 Championships. Last season finished 4th, though. He had a number of DNFs, one of which came at the start of the season here at Donington in a big accident with lap traffic, but he's made a good start. Josh Law looking straight down the inside of Rick Johnson there. The 91 just chucks his nose down there. Doesn't want to scuff the new front end of that car, at least, against the very pretty carbon fibre machine of Rick Johnson. He just tucks in behind him now. And behind them, I believe that's the number 1 machine of Tom Stoughton in 5th place. He started 7th on the grid. Reigning champion is Tom. Had an incredible season last season. Out of, I think, 12 races, he got 11 podiums and 7 wins. He was absolutely on fire. His worst result was 4th at Brands Hatch last year for Tom Stoughton. It was an absolutely mental season, to be honest with you. Josh Law was 2nd in the championship, and now the two of them going head-to-head once again. You can see the locks for Van's livery on that car as well. 2 cars in Sports 2000 are branded like that this year. Tom Stoughton's car and the number 27 in the Pintos that we'll see later on of John Harmer and Mark Noiro. But look at Michael Gibbons go now. He's really stretching his legs here, and that's exactly what he wants to do, because in qualifying he had contact with another driver and had a puncture halfway through, still managed to get pole though.
Yes, I think we've had a few qualifying sessions today that have been the highest of highs and lowest and lows in various different categories. Fast lap and then an immediate downfall thereafter, but thankfully it hasn't affected any of them in the race as of yet. Keeping an eye on Josh Law, he's already put a proper send into the first corner on a couple of occasions at Redgate, and on that occasion he did decide even that he was too far back from Richard Johnson to have a go, but he's definitely going to be contending for a podium, and I think Stoughton will want to get his skates on as well. As you said, last year the worst he finished was 4th. The last thing he'd want to do is start up his season with a 5th.
Yeah, definitely. And I know Tom as well. I know how fiercely competitive he is. They're all such lovely guys in this championship, though. I've spent the morning sort of reintroducing myself, reacquainting myself with everybody. It's such a great place to be and walk around chatting to everyone. But when they get out on track, they are so fierce and so competitive. You know, they're really, really on it. And you have to be in these cars. You know, you cannot mess around. Even with the guys that are getting used to the new MCRs as well. I was talking to Roger Donnan, series secretary, this morning, and he said it's the first time he's driven an MCR that oversteers. He says usually you get a little bit of understeer, but you can dial it out. This time he's having to dial out oversteer, which means that it's a very lively bit of kit. You can see the difference between the two, though, now, as the 21 and the 91, Rick Johnson and Josh Law, come towards us. Rick defends the inside line, and I tell you what, just behind them, Tom Stoughton's thinking, I fancy this. Josh sends him the dummy one way, puts his nose down the inside, but backs out of it. That's going to surely help Tom Stoughton close up slightly. He's got a bit of a gap then, back into 6th position. Then it's Dominic Lesniewski, who started on the same row as Tom Stoughton. He has got James Barwell just behind, started 6th and currently sits 7th. And then car 8 is P8, David Houghton, in 8th position after starting 10th. But I tell you what, that gun of Tom Stoughton looks very good this season. It looked great last year as well, to be honest with you, when it got rewrapped, but even in the new livery it still looks phenomenal.
Yes, well, that was one of the first things that myself and Alan Hyde alluded to in qualifying earlier on. We said, that does look very good.
Oh, the beautiful bronzy colour.
Yeah, it's really good. It's an exceptional looking car, and it was driven exceptionally well last year. Stoughton there looked to me like he was a bit slow out of Coppice, but no issues as such. Still holding racing pace down the back straight towards the Robert chicane for the 5th time of asking, and let's see again whether Law can get close enough. He's a bit further back this time. I don't think he's going to have a dummy to sell on this occasion. Also, looks to me as if both of them are slightly closing in on Timothy Tudor.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it looks like Tim's not as far ahead as he was maybe a lap or so ago. And that is one of 2 cars out there that is actually run by University of Wales Trinity St David as well. And it's going really, really well. They had a bit of a tough time last season, did Tim Tudor and John Eiley. But they have had a fantastic start here in this new MCR, certainly going well. But look, Rick Johnson gets a great run out of the old hairpin up the hill towards McLean's. Is he going to look to the inside? No, Tim just covers it off before they get to the braking zone, but he's going to run wide, a little bit of a wiggle mid-corner. But Rick Johnson in that all-carbon fibre MCR with the completely black helmet as well looks really evil, chasing down Tim Tudor, and this is now developing into a 3-way fight. Josh Law has the front row seat for this one.
Yeah, Johnson, the Duratec Darth Vader, looking to the outside as they approach the Robert chicane. Not close enough for a move. Good defending from Tim Tudor as they run through the chicane. And I think Law may have a good opportunity here for another attempt to move. Tudor's probably going to stay defensive here if he possibly can. And it's not an enviable position for Richard Johnson. Do I defend? Do I attack? What do I do? And amazingly, Joshua Law for once doesn't dive it up the inside. Wasn't quite close enough after. Whoa, Tim Tudor there. Really had to take evasive action, did Richard Johnson. Tudor just seemed to bog down almost out of the corner, and that was very nearly quite a big incident.
Yeah, this is the thing. These cars are so nimble. They change direction so quickly. They're almost like a Formula car, but it just looks like Tim Tudor's just not got the power out of a lot of these corners, you know. He's not got the run out of the old hairpin. He's not too smart out of Redgate either. It just looks like the car on corner exit doesn't have it, but he's defending incredibly well. But now look, Tom Stoughton's part of this party as well. He's right in there with them. Suddenly Josh Law feels the need to defend, and the unenviable position that Rick Johnson was in from having to decide whether to go forwards or try and defend from behind, now that lies on Josh Law as well.
All of this happens while Michael Gibbons disappears off to the head of the order. 5.2 seconds clear. I'll just acknowledge him briefly. There he is on camera. But we are firmly focusing on this battle for second place because it is getting very interesting indeed. Tudor once again having to lean defensive, going to the right as they approach Redgate, and they all fan out going into the first corner. And again, a good run for the number 21 of Johnson, and he's learnt from his previous mistakes, hasn't he? Tried to dive to the inside last time, didn't do it on this occasion. Downforce should mean they can get through the Craners side by side, but Timothy Tudor decided to back out of it. Johnson up to second place.
Stoughton just tried it around the outside of Josh Law as well, just got on the curb and he thought, nope, I definitely don't want to touch that grass, and he backed out of that one. Rick Johnson then nice and tidy up into second place. It was good. Tim backed out just that little bit just to give him the room, and he managed to slot in just behind. But look at these things going through McLean's. They are going through there so quickly. Josh Law going through it a little bit quicker than Tim Tudor. He's now looking down the inside into Coppice. Tiny bit later on the break, slots it down the inside, but can Tim get the run on the exit? We've seen it so many times, you and I, Adam, of how many times you can switch back very quickly on the exit of Coppice. You can go in deep and run wide. Tom Stoughton suddenly becomes part of it. Tim Tudor's back side by side with him, and he's actually going to get it done on the brakes, is he? Well, we see Michael Gibbons crossing the line again. Oh, nearly contact. Tim just runs a little bit wide. Josh was a bit squirrely on the exit there. I'd wonder if he maybe made a tiny bit of contact and punctured the tyre, but as he leant on that right rear, it didn't look comfortable, that MCR. Now Tom Stoughton's in it. Lesniewski's under attack by James Barwell. 2 by 2. Noah's Ark into Redgate. Tom Stoughton's going to try and get the run off the exit. The corner, he nearly rubs panels with Tim. Just slots in front, and Barwell just slots in front of Lesniewski. Beautiful stuff.
Very interesting that Tim Tudor just doesn't seem to have the bite coming out of Redgate. On every lap, it's like it bogs down coming out of Redgate in particular. And that's what's costing him on 2 consecutive laps.
There's something not quite right with that car, Adam. Definitely. He's not got the run there out of the old hairpin, but by a long way compared to Barwell. Barwell nearly ran into the back of him there. It's a real shame for Tim Tudor because that qualifying was so impressive compared to some of the results they had last season. And all of a sudden it seems to have come undone a bit here. I hope they can get it to the end. But I'm sure you'll probably agree with me on this one. While we get a little bit sentimental about that MCR, it's got a real Minardi vibe about the livery to it, doesn't it? Like early 90s Minardi.
I can see that.
I love it.
Absolutely, yes. Tim Tudor, it's weird because down the straight the car seems fine. It's just initial power application, as if the diff just doesn't want to give him power or something in the early going or something like that. It's very strange, but Tim Tudor continuing to have to make his car the widest on the grid, now coming under fire from James Barwell, as you alluded to, and then behind them is Lesniewski in the number 3. Meanwhile, both Johnson and Joshua Law have disappeared off, and of course Tom Stoughton have disappeared off in 2nd, 3rd and 4th. The gap between Gibbons in the lead and Richard Johnson in 2nd is a mere 9.1 seconds with half of the race completed. I think it's going to be important for Johnson now to get some quick laps in and prove to himself that he can maybe hang with him in the second race tomorrow. Tudor, meanwhile, still under pressure from Barwell. Again, that initial power surge, and you see there's so nearly contact between the two of them. Barwell up the inside and will have the position, yes, up the inside into what is now 5th place. Barwell in the 77. Tim Tudor about to come under a threat from Lesniewski next, and he really is falling through the order. A big shame, but in the pits is the leader. Gibbons is in the pits. Michael Gibbons, with half of the race complete, has withdrawn. Clearly a problem for the 76 car. 44 is in the pits as well.
John Eiley.
And Gibbons in. That's a huge development and a big misfortune for Michael Gibbons, who was doing so well at the head of the order.
You can see his dad Alan there running out into the pit lane, and he was really not happy. Not a clue what happened. The car looked fantastic. It didn't look like there was any issue whatsoever. Not sure whether he's cooked the brakes or felt a sudden drop in power, because it might have just happened down that straight there where we couldn't see him. But that is absolutely devastating for Michael Gibbons. As I said, start of last season he had a big DNF in the first race, and it was that bad he couldn't race in the second one either, so he lost big championship points there, and already the campaign has got off to a poor start. We had a quick look there at Grant Gibson and John Owen together. John started at the very back of the grid, but has made his way gradually up the order to now be fighting with Grant Gibson. Both of them in the Duratec B class. At the moment, it is the number 6 machine of Peter Brower that is leading that class. He's 12th overall behind Andy Chittenden, and Colin Peach has apparently come into the pits as well now. Colin having an issue, unfortunately. So starting to drop like flies a little bit here with just over 10 minutes to go. Well, this is John Owen now and Grant Gibson on our screens, but you can see Gibbons dropping down the order on the left-hand side on the timing tower. That is so devastating, man.
Stoughton, meanwhile, we talked about his minimum finish of 4th place last year, 4th or better, nothing else will cut it. Sure enough, he's up into 3rd place now, up into the podium, the defending champ Tom Stoughton, and I think part of his championship run, as well as being mighty quick and oh so dominant at times last year, was also down to just, you know, outlasting, surviving, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, you know, these guys, all of them pretty much prepare these race cars themselves. You know, a lot of them are maybe just a two-man team. And it's great because you do see the inner workings of these cars so much. As soon as you take the shell away, they are so exposed and so easily accessible, the inner workings of these cars. It's fantastic to see them being worked on. If you do get the chance to go into a paddock at Sports 2000, do go and have a look, because they are literally just, there's so much room around the engine, you can access any of it from anywhere around the car. We did just see John Owen there, though. I wanted to point out that the wing on that car didn't look straight. I noticed it on the grid. It did look a bit skew-whiff. Now,
I'm glad you've pointed it out. I thought it was going crazy.
I thought maybe the screen was on a slant. But no, it's definitely a little bit wonky to, well, for lack of a better phrase, that wing. We look now at the second place. Well, actually, no, first place, sorry.
Yes,
Rick Johnson now. Josh Law behind him. Josh inheriting second position. And Josh right now is 1.5 seconds, give or take, behind him. And you can see pushing through the old hairpin. You can just see when they're pushing because they just catch that lip of the curb, don't they, on the exit?
It sounds like we have a chance to catch up down in the pits with Alan Hyde. Alan has found someone in the pit lane. Let's go to him now.
Not just someone, not just anyone, but the erstwhile race leader, Michael. Goodness me, I'm sorry, I'll stop you from pushing the car down the pit lane. What happened?
I'm not entirely sure. We've lost drive coming out the last corner on that lap. Not sure if it's clutch was I didn't really have a clutch for most of the race. I was just doing it all like without all the changes without the clutch, but we were still quick and stuff, and I just got out the last corner and whatever it was just let go completely, and now I have no drive at all.
What a terrible shame. The race had been going so according to plan, hadn't it? Hadn't missed a beat.
No, it was like it couldn't go any better. Like nailed the start, nailed the restart, and I don't want to be that guy. Like it was a massive gap. It was getting bigger, and I wasn't having to push that much. And I don't like going to Donington. It goes wrong every time I come.
Oh, no. Oh, well, you've got to start pushing now. Unfortunately, the wrong kind of pushing.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we'll get it back and hopefully sorted and have a race tomorrow.
Michael, good luck. Thank you.
Fingers crossed for Michael Gibbons that the problem isn't too major, but great to hear from him with Alan Hyde there as we see the car number 9 in, Andrew Butler into the gravel trap there in a very precarious position indeed. 7 minutes and 50 odd seconds to go. Butler there waving at them as if to say, no, I don't want to go back out on track. I think they were going to try and push him. I wonder if maybe that was a lock-up because of an engine issue or something like that he didn't want to be put back onto the circuit there.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the last lap, actually, they've come across the line since then, haven't they? So I think he was pretty close with the old car, well, the old owner of that car, I should say, Roger Donnan, but we'll have to wait and see if we get anything from that. But the car had definitely done quite a lot of rotation to get to that point, hadn't it? It must have at least done 360 degrees nearly. But I think maybe contact, or like you say, just locking up the rear axle on a downshift or something will be to blame there. But no safety car at the moment, just local yellows covering that one by the look of it.
Yes, I'm wondering if we might do local yellows and then throw the flag 5 minutes before, which is what we've done in the previous 2 races.
Oh, really?
So we'll look lively for checkered flags.
Oh, there you
safety
go.
car is out. There you go. So they've decided that the safety car should go out, and in theory, 6 minutes and 50 seconds to go, there is a tractor ready for snatch not too far away from that area of the circuit. I do think we could maybe get 1 or 2 laps out of this, which could make things incredibly interesting.
Oh yeah, there'll be a fantastic sprint to the end. We get a good look at some of the other cars a little bit further down the order here.
I think I saw as well, I think Stoughton has ended up behind James Barwell. I think I just caught that on screen before we cut away. Hopefully we'll see the leaders again in the not too distant future. But yes, I think James Barwell might have got past Tom Stoughton off camera somewhere there.
Yeah, Barwell was actually going really well at the order as well. He did start 6th with a number of others behind, and there you go, yeah, confirmed on the left-hand side of our screen as well, and on TSL timing. Barwell moves up to 3rd place. Great stuff, because that was the ex-Michael Gibbons car as well, before he bought the one he's in now last year, if that makes sense. Yeah, he started racing the one he's in now last year. And then his old car went to the Barwells. There's James Barwell and Tony Barwell that share that car. And it's a good-looking bit of kit. It goes well, that's for sure. There we see one of our wonderful marshals, who we must thank again for being out there this weekend. Without them, we cannot go racing. And it's great to see them all enjoying it as well in the nice sunshine. It may not be the warmest of days, as I've said, but still, it's good to be here and back out at a circuit again. It's my first gig of the year, this. I can't believe we're already in April, and it's been that long.
No, the year has very much crept up on us, hasn't it, the racing season? But it's all stations go at this point right through to November here at Donington Park. Do check out the website to see what's coming up here, both from MSVR and the broader scope of categories. As always, we've got so much excitement to come here at the circuit, one of the best tracks in the UK and Europe, and we'll have another great year of racing. This, of course, is the very first MSVR weekend of the year as well, so it's the first for the organising body as well as yourself, Chaz. And yeah, 4 minutes and 50 seconds of racing to go, and I do think we might get 1 or 2 laps at the end of this, fingers firmly crossed. But it's certainly going to be difficult for Richard Johnson to hold off Joshua Law, because Joshua Law is probably one of the most attacking drivers out there.
Yeah.
And he's not averse to a 50-50 move.
No, definitely not. I mean, he got his first win in the championship last year. He actually took 2 wins. But then, unfortunately, had a bit of a rough time at Brands Hatch Indy. There was an accident after the start, just down at turn 1. It took out a number of drivers, and Josh had his wing clipped in that one. It sort of just dragged the wing off the back of the car. Unbelievably, though, it's one of the greatest displays of strength I've ever seen. His dad, Ian, bless him, straightened the wing out with his bare hands in the pit lane and then sent him back out. An absolute animal, bless him. But yeah, Josh had a really, really good season last year. Like I say, finished in 2nd place in the championship, 7 podiums, including 2 victories. But unfortunately, Tom Stoughton was just in another league to everybody last year. Like I said, 11 podiums and 7 wins from the 13 races we do. I said 12 earlier, apologies. It was 13 races. And yeah, Tom was pretty untouchable, to be honest with you. But still, the field continues to just creep around, and with it being quite a short lap here, Adam, I mean, it's what, 1 minute 9:079 is the fastest lap of the race, so let's call it 1 minute 10 on average, maybe 1 minute 11, as there is Andrew Butler on our screens. It's not gonna. We're not gonna need that long to get just to like 2 or 3 lap sprint to the end here, are we?
No, and I think they are intentionally slowing the safety car here to try and get it underway at the end of this lap. If it doesn't go this lap, we might struggle to do more than a 1 lap sprint. So I think they're being very, very wily here. Of course, the temperatures are going down. The drivers will be screaming, "Make the safety car go faster," like we hear in the Formula 1 most weekends. But at the moment, that's probably the best way forward, to give them 2 laps of extra racing. Just back off a little bit, and hopefully the situation will be rectified before they get around to the Robert Chicane in about a minute's time. There is the car. I'm not sure that we're gonna, if that's the last of the hooking up that needs to be done, we might be okay. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that car's going to be removed in time or not. You see there the marshals working hard, and this weekend, as with most weekends, a lucky marshal from the Orange Army contingent this weekend will get to go in a Formula 3000 car at the Bedford Autodrome, which is an initiative that MSVR do at their meetings.
Wow.
I did hear a marshal talk about having a go in the F3000 car at Bedford, but I didn't realise they did this kind of raffle at the end of every weekend. Cool. So that's really, really good indeed. A great initiative to reward the volunteers that help make motor racing possible. I think motor racing won't be possible here for another lap, and unfortunately I think we're going to have a safety car finish here, because with 1 minute and 40 to go, we are not getting around the circuit again in time.
Not unless you see one of the best laps you've ever seen from this safety car.
I was going to say, unless they've V10 swapped. They've got an M5 engine from 2005.
Oh yeah, proper M5. Yeah, sorry to any current M5 owners, but it's not a proper M5 these days.
E39 is the best one, no discussion. V8.
Yeah, well, checkered flags out.
Yeah, there you go. So they've decided to call it their third consecutive race that hasn't run to full distance, unfortunately. But in this case, merit for doing so, of course. There's no point just trundling around behind the safety car for another lap. That means then that in maybe slightly hollow circumstances towards the end of the race, Richard Johnson has taken the win from Joshua Law. James Barwell in third place, and in the worst finishing position he had all year last year, Tom Stoughton starts off his championship defence with a fourth place finish. We'll run you through the full order after we have heard from Alan Hyde down in the pit lane in a few minutes' time. He will gather Richard Johnson as soon as he pulls the car up at Garage 1 in just a few minutes. The Ancaster Leisure-backed number 21 car, though, will be or is already, of course, our winner, the Duratec Darth Vader in the all-black helmet. Richard Johnson with a great victory, a good way to start off his campaign, and I think even though we have lost a few there, Michael Gibbons and co, I think a good indicator potentially of the state of play for the 2022 season. Some of the guys we expect to be right up there all year long, finishing in that top 5. Yeah,
it was some great battling near the front end as well. There was a bunch of jostling as we usually get further down. We just look at Nick Bates here in the number 4 car. He's basically the series chairman in that number 4 machine. Fantastic looking MCR. And then we see our beautiful BMW 2 Series pace car as well, or safety car I should say. There is Andrew Butler's car, looking a little bit sorry for itself at the side of the road. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure Roger will go past that and maybe weep a tear or two and be thinking, oh, what have you done to my old car? Hoping that it would have a nice season. But Rick Johnson was fantastic in that one. You know, an amazing fight with Josh Law as well. It was really, really important for the two of them to get past Tim Tudor. A little bit good for Tim Tudor, though. You know, if you consider how well he did in qualifying and how well the car was going early on, that could have easily been a race win for him, obviously with the problems that Michael Gibbons had. But I think that's the main talking point of the race, that Michael Gibbons was so fast in qualifying. For the majority of the session, he was the second clear of everybody else. Yeah. And then for it to go wrong like this in the first race, that's got to be so heartbreaking for him, because him and his dad and his mum Maureen as well. I'll give his mum Maureen a shout out because I've given Ellen one and not her. But the three of them are fantastic. You know, they're great people, and they'll be gutted. But there is your race winner, though. Great start of the year, or for the year, for Rick Johnson. What a guy. What a guy indeed, and we'll hear from him in just a few seconds with Alan Hyde down in the pit lane.
Yeah, delighted team offering their congratulations, and double thumbs up from the cockpit. Off come the belts, and just get himself out of the car. Off come the gloves. Quite a bit of adrenaline still pumping away. This is with some speed that the helmet is coming off. Be interesting to know. I mean, clearly delighted with that.
A year ago today, we came here and unfortunately we left having a car fire and broke my elbow in the process. So to be back here today, a year later, with the rebuilt car and a win, that's amazing.
That's why it means so much.
There's a lot of reasons, but yeah, family's here as well, so thanks to them.
Yeah, I mean, an unpredictable win as well, because a couple of things happened during the race. Firstly, the race leader into pit lane. Big surprise.
To be honest, he'd gone. I thought I was P2, and hanging on to P2 with the safety car coming out, I thought was the best I was going to do, because Josh was definitely quick in a straight line. Yes. Certain corners, I knew where I was a little bit quicker than he was, so sort of got the measure, but really didn't want the safety car. And then he didn't come past, so I couldn't believe it. So yeah, very happy with the win.
Car is absolutely gorgeous, I have to say. A lot of work has gone into this.
It has. Clive and Cindy MCR, they produce some beautiful cars, and yeah, I'm very proud of it. So yes, yeah, very, very happy indeed. And just bad luck to Mike Gibbons, because you know it was his win really. But yeah, I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, quite right too. Final question. Yes. We didn't know whether the safety car was going to stay out until the checkered flag, nor did you. What were your thoughts thinking about the restart?
I got a timer in the car, so I knew that we weren't going to get back to the check, and hopefully they've learnt the lessons for Formula One that they should finish a race under safety car. So I sort of knew they would. I thought they'd do the right thing, and which they did. And you never want to finish under a safety car, but it saves a lot of last lap incidents when the brakes are cold and that sort of thing. And mine were definitely cooling off, so you can't keep them to temperature behind the safety car. So it was the right decision. Worked in my favour today. If I was Josh behind, I'd have been wanting it differently.
Of course you would.
So no, thanks to all. Had a great day. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mandy. Thanks for having a chat to us. There we go. A beautiful car and a winner as well. A delighted winner with a story behind the win. There we go. More racing yet to come.
So there you go, a surprise win, a jubilant win for Johnson. Let's run you through that finishing order in full. Richard Johnson taking the win from Joshua Law, James Barwell, Tom Stoughton and Timothy Tudor. Your top 5. Lenevsky in 6th position ahead of David Houghton, Nick Bates, Steve O and Andy Chittenden. Your top 10, of course, deceptively close together on the timing screen owing to that safety car. Peter Brower in 11th place ahead of Roger Donnan in 12th, Grant Gibson in 13th, John Owen 14th, and then the non-finishers Andrew Butler in 15th, Colin Peach in 16th, Joshua Needham classified 17th, of course, Michael Gibbons, such a shame that his race ended early, John Eiley 19th, and the last of those that registered a lap, Paul Traherne, of course, didn't get to that first corner of the race, had an issue on the formation lap. If you enjoyed that Sports 2000 race, there is more coming tomorrow, Chaz, of course. A good schedule of Sports 2000s on Sunday.
Yeah, usually what we have is basically 2 races a weekend, Duratecs and Pintos in one race, but we've actually split the calendar for the first 2 race meetings of the year. We have so many cars that basically we can have 2 separate races. So tomorrow morning at 9:10 we start things off with the Sports 2000 Historics Championship, which is the Pintos. Then at 12:25 we have the second of the Duratec races for the weekend, and then before the Enduro KAs get going in the afternoon at 5:1 we have the final Pinto race of the weekend. And I for one love the fact that the Pintos have their separate races. I have a massive soft spot for them. If you do get the chance to go into the paddock and have a look at the cars, do, because the Pintos and the Duratecs are all very, very gorgeous.
Absolutely, an immaculately presented field in both of Sports 2000 categories. We'll see more of them tomorrow, but for now, congratulations once again to Richard Johnson on a well-deserved victory there in the first of the Duratec races.